All right. Hey, everybody. Had a little bit of technical difficulties. My camera's a little wonky as well. Let me try and fix that for you guys. I'm back. I was out of town. I was on vacation, did a little bit of cruising. Kind of not our thing when it comes to cruising. We saw a bunch of movies, went down to kind of Cozumel, Mexico, and back. A little bit of cruddy weather, but relaxed a ton. And now it's time to introduce the new products that all showed up while I was gone. That was our fear. But nevertheless, it's Sunday and we're here. Hopefully, everything's working correctly. And we'll onward with the show, the shopping network, which I do when we kind of get these new containers. And I actually had two containers land. One landed in Kentucky, and then one landed at my house that restocked our store, which was wood and rock and some stuff like that. So I actually got off a plane, got home at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then got up at 7 a.m. to unload a cargo container in the rain. And when it rains, it pours, so the forklift that I had didn't want to work. So we offloaded basically all the wood and rock, and it was not fun, but got it done. Store's restocked. That's out of the way. We only have to do one of those big wood and rock containers every year to 18 months, depending on how much we sell. So got it done. All right. I would say the big news, even though I don't have it in my hands yet, I keep it in this green container, which usually would have held the brine shrimp cubes here. But this is the easy, not even the easy. We went round and round with the naming, but the magic nano feed, and it's kind of a fine powder. You can't even see that. Let's see, can we see that this way? Yeah, kind of a fine, kind of powder type food that will float for extended amounts of time in the aquarium, kind of like live baby brine shrimp would. There's going to be a lot of talking about this food because there's been a lot of questions and things like that, but that's basically the premise. The premise was Corey's out looking to make his own fish foods. It's been a long time, been working on it for years, and sample after sample after sample, company after company, nothing's doing stuff that isn't already on the market, or it's not better than what's on the market, or I can't get a way better price point. There was no leg to stand on, so to speak, until we finally got a batch in, and there was actually two winners on that batch, but the second food hasn't launched yet. But the magic nano feed was the one that I was like, wow, this is what I've been looking for. And that was something that would feed nanofish and guppies and guppy fry and Cypachromis cichlids. And I needed a food that didn't just stay on the top, didn't just sink to the bottom, but would stay in that middle layer where, honestly, a majority of the fish want to be eating. And then there was a lot of benefits to it that I didn't realize right off the get-go, and that is that it's rad for shrimp, both filter feeders, where they're grabbing out of the middle of the water, doing that all day. They love it. And then also just for like shrimp and snails in the aquarium, because eventually it does settle, right? And it will kind of go everywhere. And in my opinion, it's a great alternative to something like a Bacter AE or any of those other shrimp products that are meant to kind of go everywhere in the aquarium, so that they can find food. Because a lot of time fry and small things like shrimp and that kind of stuff, they don't travel that much around the aquarium. They're kind of looking for food in their own little area. And if the food doesn't go to them, they don't get as much, especially when you're making lots of shrimp. You've got lots of little shrimplets. And same with fry. If there's bigger fish that will go eat them, then they don't really come out. So, yeah. And so as far as ingredients go, you know, depending on how many live streams you watched and watched me talk about that, I went down the rabbit hole on this kind of. I was doing a lot of research, researching things like soldier fly larvae and krill and brine shrimp and fish meals and stuff. And so one of the things to know is that when it comes to fish foods, a meal, as in like a fish meal, could be almost anything. And I think the best way I've been able to explain it so far is like a call it a hamburger or a cheeseburger when you buy it from somewhere, right? You can make it with really low grade quality meat. You can even put a bunch of fillers in it, or you can make it with $200 a pound ground beef, or not even ground beef, but like steak turned into beef, right? And so that word is very scary though, because for a long time in the hobby, it's got a meal in it, that's bad. And I think that would be true, just like, oh, would you like a steak? No. Or you might say yes, but it's like, oh, it's ground steak. You go, ooh, no. And then you go, oh, well, it's $600 a pound. And all of a sudden you're like, I'd like to taste that. And that's kind of what's going on here. We're using whole anchovy meal, whole krill meal, and whole shrimp meal. And then there's the binder, which the binder is wheat flour. I better look at this because this is all going off the top of my head because I've worked on a lot of formulas and they have changed over the time. And I don't want to quote you wrong off the top of my head. Just even though I've been working on this for a bit now, there have been modifications. We tried foods that had as much krill as you could possibly fit into it, as much brine shrimp as you could fit into it, in between. And the reality, what I saw was more wasn't necessarily better. And what I mean by that is, if you were to, instead of designing a fish food, you're designing a cheeseburger, right? Well, if Wagyu beef, let's say, I don't know what, so there's 10 beef connoisseurs watching this right now going, oh, no, that's not the one. I don't know, right? I don't know. But let's say Wagyu beef in your cheeseburger is top tier. That's the krill, that's whatever you consider the top is, the brine shrimp, whatever it is. Just going to 2 or 3x more is not the answer. To actually get a better burger, it's like, ooh, when you start mixing in some bacon and some spices and other things, that actually makes the burger better, right? And then you've got all the things that go with that burger, like what's the bun, what's the lettuce, the tomato, the condiments, all of that. And that's actually what makes it more appetizing to us and actually kind of a more balanced meal. And so that's kind of what I learned going through with the Magic Nano feed, or just foods in general, actually, was that just trying to peg out what was the best wasn't what the fish wanted the most. And so then it became, okay, we need to put all these ingredients together to actually make something palatable and they want, and also healthy, which is a different task. And so, that's how we got to here. Someone's asking if our shirt's available on the website. It is. You can get yourself some Magic Nano feed and a shirt. But yeah, so it's the whole krill meal, whole anchovy meal, whole shrimp meal, and then it goes to the wheat flour, fish oil, yeast, and then vitamins and minerals. So the thing I would say that lots of foods are this way. Well, not lots. There are other foods this way because I still don't believe any one food is the end all be all. Whether it's a human, cat, dog, fish, there's lots of food out there. But for the most part, we limited, we try to limit the amount of stuff going in because it's easier to explain and it's easier to control portions and that kind of stuff. And so the ingredients are krill, anchovies, shrimp, wheat flour, fish oil, yeast, and then what's called a vitamin pack. And it's basically like, hey, should we add lots of vitamins to this? Yes, should, right? Well, you don't know that, but yes, the answer is yes, you should, because without adding vitamins, if you only ever fed your fish that, they would maybe be lacking vitamin C and other things, right? And so you basically have the protein sources, the patty, and then you basically got the bun. And the bun comes down to you mix wheat flour and fish oil and yeast, and that'll create like a paste and it'll bind it up so it'll hold form. Because if you just took those meaty products and ground them up and put them together, and you've kind of got like, I don't know, a meatball that hasn't been cooked, it doesn't stay together very well, right? And so you need that binder. Well, I guess even meatballs and stuff like that might have breadcrumbs and stuff to help bind it together. But I mean, that's a great example. If you're making meatloaf or meatballs, a lot of times you have to put in either breadcrumbs or some kind of binder into it so it will hold its shape. And that's what we're trying to do here. So, and then you've got the big vitamin pack with it. So, yeah, where was I going? So that's how we kind of, this formula actually, truth be told, this formula, I didn't have to doctor. This one kind of, they surprised me with it. After trying all these different blends, we got to a point where it's like, just start ordering stuff and trying it and going, here's what we're looking for. Do you have anything like this? And we'd ask for the whole catalog and we go, okay, I want this one, that one, and that one. And you can see some of the samples here. And so, for instance, when we get it, this is called baby fish feed. But then they also have bigger size krill meal grind food, which is the next step up from this. This, I bet the farm on. This, not good at all. Same exact product, as in the recipe. This sinks like a rock, and the fish don't want it, and it's too hard. This, magical. And so, even when you just, even the same thing, it's like different cooks, that kind of stuff. All the same ingredients, somehow it's different. If you make a beef patty this thin, this thick, or this thick, it's very different, right? So same thing. It's got to be the right thickness or pellet size and all of that stuff to get exactly what those fish want. And there actually is another size that'll be coming out in the future, the community pellet, that I think is, I don't know if it's equally as amazing, might be more amazing, because I think it's going to handle more fish, but yeah, same blend, but that'll come out in the future. So people ask, what is the size of this? 200 micron for non-fish nerds. What does that mean? That means basically live brine shrimp, depending on which lake it came from, is anywhere from 220 to 300 microns, somewhere in there. And so that's why it's very similar to that live baby brine. So yeah, a lot of fish love it, and the store goes nuts for it, and so we launched it. One thing I will say, your hang time will be very dependent on your flow. If you have almost no flow, it'll kind of just float very slowly and sink down over the course of 30, 40, 50 seconds. If you use like the easy flow with the curve, that'll keep the water going like this. The food will stay in there for like 45 minutes, an hour. Yeah, some will eventually hit corners and kind of drop off, but for the most part, the lion's share of it stays suspended while the fish is going nuts. So, if you're going, hey, mine didn't do like that video did, like your flow might be different, Someone's asking here, what's the deal with those floating discs that people put food in? Like a feeder ring that floats on the top? The goal is to keep it from, keep it in a central spot, but keep it from maybe getting sucked into like a Seachem tidal filter. It's got a skimmer, or an overflow if you're running a sump. Mostly that. Or if you have lots of live floating plants like duckweed or water lettuce, it keeps the hole open so you can put the food in. Yeah, so that was product number one, and that's been the that's the monster product that we've been desperately waiting for months, and I believe we're gonna sell out of this one. We'll see. Stores are buying it pretty good, which, by the way, it's on the way to our retail store and a bunch of other retail stores. They were notified right away, and the ones that got on it, it's already on its way to Canada too, for April's Aquarium. And I will give a shout out. The very first person to buy the food was actually Mike Howe of Fish Tank Barn. So shout out to Mike. He was on it, and he's going to do a video about it. So you can watch an independent review. He paid money for it and everything. And there's a few reviews on the website. One is from Dean, because Dean, I forgot that he had got some in advance as well. And yeah, so we've got another one here. I'm just going to read this off because my software is not set up to do the website, because I had to rebuild it from the ground up in about 4 minutes. Good, it's not very long. So Chris P. from Minnesota says, this came in yesterday, and it moves around my aquariums just like Hikari frozen baby brine shrimp I have. It seems like it's about the same size, and it floats on the surface for a little bit before it starts circulating in the water column. My fish love it, and the ingredient list and nutrient profile is excellent. All said, this is a significant innovation. I'd say it's magic. And then the next newest one from today also. By the way, it's only 5-star reviews so far, but I'm sure someone will hate it. Don't worry, internet takes all kinds. I've been feeding this to my guppies and shrimp tanks and my community tank for a few days now. The food does a great job of staying in the water column, and the fish in my tanks go wild for it. Another great Aquarium Co-op product. And then there's the Dean review there, which the Dean review, being that he's my friend, take it with a grain of salt, because well, maybe Dean would, but I don't think Dean would get on there and be like, this sucks, I hate it. So, but more independent reviews to always come in. 200 microns, the same as 0.2 millimeter, guys. Yes, that is true. Yep. CPDs love it. When during the testing this product, we were testing it in my fish room. Guppies were loving it, and sometimes you get a little bit of you like get too into the weeds, right? What do they call it? Too much inside baseball? Is that what they call it? And basically, all my fish were loving it, and I was like, wait, I really need to make sure it passes the test. And the test, by the way, I hold the bar at Extreme Krill Flake still to this day, because it was the first food I ever fed in a store that all the fish just went nuts for it, including discus, right? So my bar is the krill flake food by Extreme. And so I was worried. I was like, well, my fish love it, but you can make fish love anything. You feed it to them long enough and they love it. And so then I took it to the store, and the entire store that had never seen it before, losing their minds over it, loving it, great. Even the employees were like, can we get some more of that? And I'm like, I don't have any more. I only get, you can only get like a kilo or two at a time when you're importing the samples and all of that. So passive flying colors there as well. I left them some to kind of feed and play with the bamboo shrimp and the vampire shrimp and stuff like that. Let them filter feed. But once it passed the flying colors there, also, that's when Dean and Bob Steenfod and a few other people got some, and then they said, yeah, I like it. And I go, good, because it's already in production. But, love to get more insight just in case. Let's see here. A lot of people bought it. That's good. How much we sold? So I only brought the first container, which we have. So the problem is when you're doing a little bit of business side talk here, at one point, as of last week, we had 4 containers. Each are hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And so the first container had 4,000 units on it. I think the next container's got 10,000 units on it. And part of that is you're afraid to what if they got the blend wrong? What if we do the label wrong? What if we have a spelling mistake and we bought how much? So there is a chance. It would have been fine, right? Because it was supposed to land, and then you space out the containers. But if there's an extra 6 to 8 weeks delay at the LA ports, that could be a problem for us. And then you never know how well it's going to sell. Sometimes we buy a ton going, this is going to be great, and no one else cares. And then sometimes you're like, I don't know, how many people have nano tanks? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, everybody has nano tanks and guppies and fries, so everybody's buying it. But I would rather sell out than be stuck with a ton that doesn't sell, especially with a food that can expire. So we have sold, 15% of it so far, and we launched it, what's today, Sunday? Like Friday? I was on a boat, so Thursday, Friday. Yeah, like Friday? Yeah. Which, if you're a member, by the way, you got the heads up. You were the first to get the heads up, members. So if you're a member here, which, Tesla Killdozer just re-upped, 3-year member. You get the little first heads up on those kind of things. Just a little bit of an extra perk. I got a zigzag eel from Aquashella Daytona today. Do I have any experience with zigzag eels or any tips? Mostly just feed them lots of frozen bloodworms. Give them a couple cool caves down below. Let them burrow if they want. There's a thread on the forum actually right now about Aquashella Daytona. So started in 2013. They updated with new pictures and experience and everything from 2014. And that's really what I actually am loving about the forum, is that things can go years and get updates, as opposed to Facebook 72 hours later, it's basically gone. So yeah, sign up for the forum. That's a plug. Become a member. That's a plug too. Save 5% on everything you buy on our website if you're a member. And we got rad talks. So yeah, literally had a package delivered when I realized the new food had dropped. That's always so hard for me, because people are like, had I known, and then I want to say had I known, I would have done different things. Every day we're calling the port, so can we have our hundreds and thousands of dollars of stuff? And they go, nope. And then we ask again, and they go, nope. And so it makes it really, really hard for us to plan. So tomorrow a video will come out, and it's actually showing my guppies and stuff, but you'll keep hearing language like, this video comes out when Magic Nano comes out, which is now, but when I was filming that video a few weeks ago, that could have been 6 weeks from now, 2 months from now, a week from then. You can't, it makes it really hard to plan when you're showing things that, because we always get customer service getting hit up like, hey, I want to buy that. Like, yeah, it's not here yet. What do you mean it's not here? Why are we showing a video? Well, one, I like to show the testing process so you guys know, like, hey, he's actually been using that for a while. And two, it kind of helps build up the hype so that when it does come in, people will buy it. So, yeah, so product number 2, we'll move on there. I'm sure we'll talk more about food later because it's the pillar product by far. Product number 2, the weighted air stones. I used to call them never clog air stones, but with the power of the internet and 4 billion people buying our stuff, there is someone that will clog this. I don't know how. I've never been able to do it, but I now am resigned to anything that can happen will happen. And so it's just a weighted air stone, even though I've never clogged one. They're easy to clean. And so you get 2 of these in your little pack. What are we selling these for? I tried to keep the price down. Are they nearly free? Yeah, nearly free, $4. So one, they're green, so they blend in with plants. If you're not running a sponge filter already, which for the most part, I am running a sponge filter, but sometimes you need an air stone that won't clog up in an undergravel filter or in a decoration or something like that. You can also make these bigger. Do I have any extras? I'll just open this pack, I guess. Yes. So you can also make these into Gigantotron air stones. What does that mean, Corey? Well, you see how these 2 came in the pack, right? You can actually take some of the parts from one. I tried to do this in the video the other day, and I didn't have 2 hands, and it went terribly wrong. So now you can see I turned 2 into one giant one. And so if you had a big pond or like Dan's Fish uses these in his where he's running insane amounts of air through his tanks and he doesn't want any maintenance, that kind of stuff, where here's the normal size, right? So we've made it basically twice as big. You also can make, with the leftover parts, because you've got a weighted part in the top, you can make a super tiny air stone as well that would fit in sponge filters and things like that. Some of the stuff that you guys may have seen in the old videos, we spent an absurd amount of money. I can't remember if it's 12 or 20,000 on molds and stuff. We started working on this project for this air stone way before the air collar and easy flow system ever came out. But we were trying to get it perfect, and it took a really long time. And so honestly, I said, do we even launch this now? And the answer was we did all the work. Why wouldn't we? People still are going to need air stones, maybe in a bucket when they transport fish. And, we thought of all these use cases, okay. And stores are still buying air stones from us, from Zis. So we're all right, may as well launch it. So the bottom, it's got a little Murphy logo. So that's kind of, hide my face and my focus. Oh, there we go. A little Murphy logo, right? And then if you watch the videos, you saw that the way that we glue and the plastic we use and all that went through several versions. And then the little weights. So we actually had custom weights and everything made. So this will be the heaviest. Everybody on the internet's gonna be you can buy a colored weighted air stone off Amazon for cheaper. Yes, but they're using raw iron as the weight, and they will rust over time. They're not waterproof, so they will rust, and they're not as heavy. We spent way too much time and money, a year's worth of time, going, make it a little bit heavier, make it a little bit heavier, make it a little bit heavier, so that you could put more and more and more air through it and have it be weighted down and not start rising up. And that was a problem in an 800-gallon tank in a pond. At a certain amount of air and a certain amount of airline tubing, if you just have it wrapped around and it's in the water, it's going to float no matter what you do. But we wanted it to be weighted well, serviceable, modular, green, because, hey, aquarium co-op and plants and all that, and it'll hide algae that grows on it. And, yeah, so it kind of checked all the boxes. And, again, this is, a lot of the products that we do, it's that was a lot of talking points for an air stone that has seemingly been out since the dinosaur era. and everybody's got their own take on it and all of those things. So I think over time, people will be like, hey, I do or don't like that, because it doesn't put out super fine bubbles. It's more of like a medium bubble. So not as coarse as like just a sponge filter without airstone, but not as fine as like a Zis felt disc, but it also wouldn't have as much back pressure. How much does the airstone weigh? Well, lucky for you, I've been weighing out meds like a madman, and I have a gram scale here. Let me calibrate real quick, and I will tell you. On? Okay, we're on. Let's make sure I've got the weight here. This is, I had to get all this, like, way more precise stuff when we're going, yeah, can you make it 2 grams heavier? Like when we're working on, like, new root tabs and stuff. How many grams do you want, Corey? Let's see here. Yep, we're calibrated. Okay. This airstone, which is the default setting, boom, weighs 11.45 grams. Someone smarter in chat, what is that to ounces? It is 4.4 ounces, like a little bit less than half an ounce. So there you go. That is the weight on this bad boy. It is maxed while still being able to fit like inside of sponge filters, because you could make this thing like that long, but then it's unsightly and not usable. So we did make it a little bit longer. And if you ever take one apart, you'll see that we even like this piece, the bottom piece is like carved out to get a little bit more. And then we chromed all of the weights in there. So if it ever does leak, it shouldn't rust. And we tested that in water, and I did side-by-sides and all of that. So if you want a product where more in R&D has been spent than I will ever recoup from this, this is that. This is the best airstone I can come up with after 2 years of too much work. Can you adjust the bubbles? You cannot. Like, you can't adjust fineness or coarseness. It's one. So this would be great if you have hard water, hydroponics, undergravel filters, Planet tank. I put one in my Planet cichlid tank right behind the lava rock where I didn't want a sponge filter. There's lots of ways to use this, but yeah. So, and that's the problem I run into. Like in the 800 gallon, I put an airstone in. That thing's never getting serviced. You got to get into the tank to service it. I cannot have it clog. And so, yeah, I need basically weighted, never clogging things in my life. Yeah, I'll keep saying it because people keep learning about it. Our lights are, maybe I'm using the wrong term, discontinued, are being no longer manufactured. We're looking for a new manufacturer. The current manufacturer says, hey, we're not doing aquarium lighting anymore, which basically means, hey, there's another lighting sector growing probably some medicinal plants that make us way more money. We're focusing on that. And so we have to go find a new manufacturer for our light. We have not even started that process really yet. That'll be, gotta put boots on the ground, find manufacturers, get prototypes. All honesty, we'll probably make changes. If we're going to go through all that work again and have to recertify with UL ratings and all that, we'll probably make some changes before we'd ever relaunch anyway. So I thought that said Corey's hot rodding an airstone here. I thought it said Corey's hot dogging an airstone. I was like, yeah, you kind of do. You kind of just keep putting them together. You make it look like a hot dog, I guess. So now I'm putting 3 of them together. See, now I got a bigger one. So, a big one and 2 shorties. Fun to play with. Now need a never clog hang on back. I can make a never clog hang on back. The problem is it just won't catch anything either. What am I going to do? Wait, when are you going to do a video about Planet tanks with sumps? I probably won't unless I run into someone who's got a lot of them and wants to talk about them, because I don't run many sumps because I don't like the loudness of it. I have, but I just don't. Let's see. The last product, not to be understated, but the last product, do I have it over there? No. I think I handed off someone for photos, which we don't even have good photos. So, hey, is the Aquarium Co-op freeze-dried Bloodworms. Kind of not a lot to talk about there. Bloodworms are kind of bloodworms when it comes to freeze drying them. You do get more for your money than maybe some of the competitor ones that we may or may not still be selling on our website that until we sell out. You get a little more for your money. Staple product, in my opinion. There's not a whole lot of innovation to go on there. So we thought, mostly, I wouldn't say mostly. We see people buying freeze-dried bloodworms, and we're like, we could give people more for their money. We should do that. And then you also, when we're talking to stores, they're like, hey, when are you going to launch this so I don't have to buy it from another company? Because as a wholesaler we are for these stores, it is easier for them to buy more from us if it's more value for you and they get a good profit margin on it and all of that. So then we go, okay, I'll work on it. And I did, and now we have them. So I don't want to lose these real quick. Alexander Koch donating 5 Aquarium Co-op memberships, and Rob Douglas donating 5 as well. Thank you guys. If you don't know, when you become a member, you get access to all the talks. We pay people to give talks, usually on their specialty. Last one I hear is particularly good. I haven't watched it yet because I was out of town, but I intend to. You also get a 5% discount on everything you buy on the website and some of the retail partner stores, which means you can even get a discount on fish if they allow that. What else do you get? Members only posts. You get the emojis. You get the coins. You can get, at 5 years, you get that custom printed Yeti membership drink thingy and other little stuff we do. So, yeah. At the very least, you got a free membership. Watch those videos while you can. Darn, sumps can be very quiet. No, they can't. And I know Lacey Grant's going, yes, they can. Take a dB meter to it. As a guy that has to run like a professional studio, even running Herbie drains, maximizing the quietness as much as possible with insulating the stand, you will still run the room louder than if you don't run a sump. You can get them pretty quiet. The average person will be like, that's quiet. And yes, quiet compared to very loud sumps, yes. Quiet compared to like a sponge filter and easy flow, no. The noise floor is much higher still. And it's just because you have pumps that are running. They're going to create a hum a little bit. And then you always end up having the sound of water moving through that whole system. And usually, even when you try and you get full drain, full siphon going in the Herbie drains, you still have to have a little bit of overflow as a bypass. And then you have to work on making that silent as well. So, yeah, I prove me wrong in the forums, everybody. Get your sump going, get your canister filter going, shoot a video, and use dB meters and quantify what is actually quiet. Because most people, when they do that, they don't realize when we're talking about actual noise levels, not what your ears sound or your ears hear. Like there are people that will tune into a frequency. Like I had a maintenance customer back when I used to run a maintenance company, and they thought one canister filter was just the loudest thing they'd ever heard. And then we swap it to a different one and it's silent to them. And literally it was louder, but they didn't hear that frequency as much. And so there's a lot of this stuff. It happens all the time with air pumps, right? One person says, oh, it's the loudest thing I've ever heard. The next person can't hear it. And so our ears have taken a beating over our whole life, and we don't realize that like our taste buds, our ears, our noses, they're all calibrated to our brain, and we're not all the same. So that's when you get meters though, and then you have at least a way to measure things against each other. You can go down the rabbit hole, and you can still get to like, okay, but how well are those meters calibrated? Yes. But, from one internet person to another person going, my thing does a thing, quantify it a little bit, and, we can go from there. So, where'd I go? It is pronounced Alexander Koch, not Koch or whatever I said before, Koch. All right. I will act like I'm not going to screw that up in 11 minutes from now, but I totally will. Might be one of those things that sticks in my brain, though. I just got a colony of clown killies. How do you breed them? And how do you know if it's male or female? Mostly, if it looks awesome, it's a male. If it looks like it has clear and short fins, it's a female. And as far as breeding them, you can breed them in a colony. I've got videos from back in the day. I bred them in a 55-gallon, lots of plants. They'll just make more. The teenagers usually will prey on their own siblings, right? So what does that mean? You got the adults. We're going to slim this down, make it real easy. You got mom and dad, right? And they have a batch of 10 kids. Mom and dad don't eat the kids. Those 10 kids raise up. Now they're 17 years old, right? Mom and dad have another batch of kids. 17-year-old kids eat the babies. When those 17-year-old kids become adults again, a new batch of babies will happen and they won't eat them. So that's kind of their cycle for some reason. And I'm sure there's a way around it. I couldn't figure out feeding more or that. You obviously could be pulling eggs and separating and all that, but colony breeding them was a real easy way just to make a bunch more pretty easy. And they're kind of a pain, just they don't lay that many at a time, so they're kind of a pain in the butt. Otherwise. Let's see here. Do you spawning mop? Do I use one? You could have a bunch of spawning mops in there. I used floating water sprite or water lettuce, basically floating plants, and then lots of other plants down low. Basically, the more cover you have, the more you would make. Like in this tank, you would make no clown killies essentially because it's too open. The more you have it filled in, the more clown killies you will make. Hey, there's one of the videos. Clown Killifish Care Guide. 7 stunning colored killies for your nanos. There you go. Teenagers eating babies. Nothing's worse. Hey, there's Goat Bro is White Cloud 09 on the forum. I like to see that. So often it takes me a really long time to figure out who's who between YouTube and the forum. So it's kind of nice to put those two together. Because then I know, like, oh, I could follow up with them on the forum and not, if you're just like, Stranger Fish Guy 2264, like, oh, I better try to answer that now, or I don't know, I'll never be able to talk to that guy again. That issue's too big. I can't actually diagnose that in this small amount of time. So, in saying that about sumps, I enjoy the sound of running water. I don't enjoy the hum of air pumps or canisters, even if it's lower. Noise can be measurable, but it's highly personalized. Yeah, like I've got an overhead filter that I'm going to tear back down because it's driving me nuts. And because you can, there's a certain ambience to videos that I like, but I also like having it quiet. So it allows me to focus a little better. What are the orange fish behind me? Those are rosy barbs. I am determined to convince everybody they're the best fish in the world. Inadvertently, because I've fallen in love with them is really all that's happened. And more people get them and like, these things are awesome. Like, that's what I'm saying. I was shocked too. Why aren't these more popular? I think it's because barbs get a bad rap. In my opinion, coming up in the hobby, you read your tropical fish hobbyist, and I'd be like, ooh, barbs are nippy and bad, and ooh. And so I always avoided them. When I kept them, now I'm going, they're not that bad. Like, yes, you can get some, tiger barbs or something chasing down other tiger barbs, and every once in a while you have a problem, but you also could not have those problems. And I'm finding more and more barbs that I try. I'm like, these guys are more like tetras. And even in the tetra family, you've got tetras that are pretty feisty and will chase stuff down, and you've got stuff that won't. But somehow tetras don't have the bad rap. Barbs do. And so as I play with more and more of them, I'm going, you know what? This is actually a way better fish than I was led on to believe my whole career. Just through, and when you're a newer hobbyist, you're reading TFH and you assume these people know what they're talking about. Well, they do know what they're talking about, but I guess I didn't realize when I was reading that there's a lot of opinion going in. And instead, and probably like with my videos and stuff too, newer people probably don't realize that everything I do is basically opinionated. If you like the way I keep fish, do it my way. If you don't, do it a different person's way. I like this food, and I like feeding it to my fish. If you don't like it, don't do that. If you don't like the live stream, don't watch it. Have I ever considered making more coins to sell in limited edition runs? I see a trend between former gaming collectors and the fish hobby. I've thought about that kind of stuff, but I hate missing out. So what I mean by that is I don't want it would make the company money, yes, but I don't want the money grab, right? Like, could I have made the Magic Nano feed in a gold container and be like, hey, it's the collector's edition. You can spend 3x the price, and then you could have it, and each one's signed by me, and you get a custom mount for the Aquarium Co-op game and the other things. Could, but I want, for the most part, I want our stuff to be as accessible as possible. So, by all means, I should have a higher membership tier for, let's say, $20 a month, $50 a month. And I know for a fact there are enough people that would join at that tier that it would be lucrative. Because I meet them, like, well, I don't want to put people on blast, but when you meet people in the lounges and you see them flying first class and you see their fish rooms and you're going, wow, you've got a great career. And really what they want is more access to me on a personal level to help with their things. People are willing to spend money. We used to sell consultations like in year 2 of YouTube at like $100 an hour. And there was more reservations than I had hours in a day. And so, long story short, that's just patting myself on the back. That's stupid. Mostly, I want everything we do to be super accessible and not just to the highest bidder. And so I would be more likely to, in the Magic Nano feed, put some rare coins that people could get just by happen chance. But I don't want necessarily, like, I don't want to turn to gambling. I don't want to see those people like, well, I bought 80 Magic Nanos and I got 3 coins and I'm just throwing the food away. Like, that's not the purpose either, right? So, but yes, I have thought about that. In general, I like stuff that everybody gets access to or as cheaply as possible, instead of having 5 different membership levels or anything like that. Like, it's just one. Everybody gets the same thing for $5. Everybody. Yeah, you do get the membership coins. Yep. You do get membership coins. We do sell the 1 coin. My business cards are coins. Randy's business cards are coins. I don't know. Does Zenzo have his own coin now? I can't remember. And then I have my Wildcaught coin as well. So, let's see. Could just pop the coin in your tank. Might look cool. I don't know. I haven't done any of that. Yeah, booster packs. And don't get me wrong, I was in the gaming scene for a long time. So when booster packs were under $3, that was a different era than where we're at now. And if there's enough gamers in my watch is telling me time to stand up. So I'm live streaming. If there's enough gamers in the chat, I just want to sell cheap booster packs. Back in my day when I was buying Revised and the Dark, which was even cheaper and that kind of stuff, affordable for 11-year-old Corey, right? I don't want to become the WotC or the Wizards or the Hasbro of today of like, hey, it's a new collector set. We'll invent new formats like Commander and, the different types of commanders. And we'll put out all these, we'll collab with everybody and just make sets faster than you could possibly consume them. Instead, I would much rather, like the first 15 to 20 years of the WotC Hasbro career, that would be like what an Aquarium Co-op wants to do. Whereas like the second half of that is what we don't want to do, in my opinion. That's where it's like, eventually one day they woke up and were like, wait, we can literally print money? We should be doing that. What's my opinion on selling one sex of a species, considering it's a rare species in your area, to avoid competition? The pros and cons. Well, obviously the pro would be not running into competition. The con is that I do the hobby for a different reason. I like to share, which kind of just went over that. But The other thing is like you end up with a lot of one sex you're not gonna be able to sell. Usually it would be the females you keep, and then what? You're just destroying them. So, in my opinion, you're better off holding the fish. So, I've got some fish you guys will see. They're over there. I spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on them. I will then keep them. If you're on the forum, you already know what they are. I will breed them. When I have a few hundred of them, I will then sell them in my store, probably at $30 a pair, and go, hey, you just made like $6,000. Like, yep. And then I'll breed them for fun. And that $6,000 buys the next set of stupid stuff I'm going to buy. Or it could be paying your rent. But that's how I tend to do it. And when it comes to breeding fish, you see, if you put it on a graph, you see this a lot, these big spikes. Someone gets a fish, they breed it, they sell a ton, it drops off, nobody's got it. Then they pick it back up. Look at something as simple as recent as Dark Knight or Midnight Rams. They were all the rage for like 9 months. Everybody got to get them. Now, it's like, oh yeah, there they are. They're all right. Yeah, they're all right. Right? And no one's really breeding them. It's going to come to a lull. Well, I know where ram breeders are making their money right now. Gold rams, German blue rams, electric blue rams. But a lot of the breeders are stuck with way too many Dark Knight rams. And it's like, yeah, just give it time. Everything goes up and down. So I personally, whether it's ethically, morally, hobby-wise, I like to set other people up for success about breeding a fish. And then I move on and I breed other stuff. Because even if other people are breeding it, really what you need to establish is your reputation. If you come to my fish room and you get Vienna guppies from the source, that is different than 3 generations down in Oklahoma. It just is. And so if you create, if you're like, hey, you're Bob's Corridora factory. Over time, as you do that, that will be worth more money. People will want them from the source. That's where you get things like Jack Watley's discus, right? I'm trying to think. I can't think of other ones off the top of my head. Stan Schubel guppies. There's lots of them out there, but that's what I would be shooting for as opposed to putting a hold on the fish. And that does happen, by the way. And you get guys like me, it's like, I got to go to the source, pay hundreds of dollars to get them. But, you'll see it where they'll use hormones to make it so the fish can't breed and things like that. It happens in the reptile world too. I just don't think, I don't think that's a good way for the hobby to be going. Me personally, I'm not doing that. Anybody can do what they want. I'm just not doing that. I will definitely try to always recoup my money and not sell at a loss, but I'm not going to go out of my way. For sure, I would say never deceive people. That is, just don't do that. That's horrible for business and humanity. Don't be like, oh, here's zebra plecos and here's 3 pairs, knowing I've sexed them all into males. Like, that does go on. That is bad for the hobby. Don't recommend it. It's why we pretty much won't guarantee any sex on a fish at our store. And you're like, I'd like that male guppy. Like, I will catch you that guppy, but I cannot guarantee it's male, even though I know it's male, because that is fine that day. But in 3 months, you're like, well, what about this angelfish? What about this discus? What about this? And you can't really guarantee, because you're going to start running species like, I can't guarantee that's that actually. It's too young, or it's, I thought it was. Apisso's a great example. We think they're a pair. Oh, the sneaker male. I'm investing in a candy coin. Yeah, Aquarium Co-op cryptocurrency. Candy coin. Mirrored and booster box sale from GameStop. Best way to spend a weekend nerding out with buddies. We should do that. We should do a draft or something at one of the events. Get some Magic nerds, and I'll put up some prizes or something if you can beat me. Which, not that I'm unbeatable. I was fairly high ranked for a long time playing Magic the Gathering. Qualified for Pro Tour and stuff, but I was only 14, so I actually took the dive and somebody else went. I won't name them because they're known in the Pacific Northwest at least. But yes, I do love drafting is fun. Everyone's on the same playing field. just comes down to skill. We could do like a chaos draft where you could bring your own packs, or we could supply the packs. I've only ever done it once, but I did a Rochester draft at a high level Type 1 event, which was the coolest thing ever. Rochester drafting Legends packs. So this is way too nerdy for this. But all the you open up each pack, it's face up. We were in teams. You choose the cards so you can see what other people are drafting in real time. And the top 8, once you qualified, top 8 went to Rochester draft of Legends. So my team made top 8. We did not win the entire event, though. I think back in the day, those events would go on till like 2 or 3 in the morning, and they wanted to close the event center down. So usually you'd get to like a top 4 and just split the money and cards out and go home and live to play another day. Because it'd usually be like Friday, Saturday, Sunday events, and you'd be like, oh, I got to be up at 4 hours to get the next tournament. And some of those tournaments were like 900 or 1,200 people deep. So, you get top 16 out of that. You're doing pretty good. Love the Magic the Gathering chat. I should do a member like stream of just Magic the Gathering nerd crap. Drafting makes me think of NASCAR. I never got into NASCAR, but yes, you gotta draft and gotta keep it going. Let's see. The nerd in me wants to make like Aquarium co-op sleeves, just like they have the IHOP sleeves and everything. I'm still in all these vintage Magic the Gathering like collector communities, and I have to stop myself from spending way too much money on something I don't even play anymore. I want to play. What's the best way to get shrimp in the Midwest Missouri state? Well, you could check to see if we have any local partner stores. Outside of that, if you hop on the forum, there is a Missouri section. You could ask, hey, other Missourians, where are you guys getting them shrimps? And they will say, hey, down over here. And then you may go check it out. How many of those guppies do you need to sell to buy a Black Lotus? True story. I have owned a Black Lotus before, and because I'm the guy that is weird about value, I have dipped it in nacho cheese because they were just being so weird about it. I'm like, I'll dip it in that nachos right there. Like, no, you won't. I'm like, sure I will. What do I care? I play to win, even though I was a dealer, and that makes it sound like a drug dealer. A dealer as in you buy and sell cards and trade and at events and do that kind of stuff. Yeah. I'll do anything if it's funny. In fact, I sold the rest of my Magic cards when I started up the co-op because I needed the cash. But several times in my life, I've sold cards when I've needed to, I had to buy a car and those types of things. So someday I'll find... The picture is still around, but I had Power 9, not all of it, and then lots of Japanese foil and signed TPS, the Perfect Storm deck. You got to be a certain level of nerd to know TPS Type 1. I'm so nerdy that this is going to get to the 1%. We got to the point where alpha and beta lands, duels and that kind of stuff, were not cool enough. Japanese foreign signed wasn't cool enough. Started getting into misprints where, in TPS, you run Summer Magic Islands. And the other nerds would be like, ooh, wow, you found a Summer Edition Demonic Tutor. That kind of stuff. Where the price has gotten so absurd, you just wouldn't, it's hard to fathom nowadays. But yeah, I was that level of nerd. Do all shrimp require a heated tank? No, in fact, I don't believe any, well, I shouldn't say any. I've had great success not heating any of the shrimp tanks. I've even had them go with ice over the pond outside. I've had them in different bedrooms in the house, completely unheated. They seem to thrive. They will boom and bust in terms of hey, when it gets really cold, they don't do a whole lot of eating and breeding, but they have no problem kind of handling it. So if you were just doing shrimp, I wouldn't worry about a heater so much if it's in your house. Let's see here. Dipped a Black Lotus in nuts cheese, a very confusing combination of words, especially if you don't know what Magic the Gathering is. Yeah. I have a Black Lotus oversized card that I got signed by Christopher Rush at one of the last events. Nice. I've had signed pieces of Power before. I also played, because I had to run a store, right? Well, I guess maybe not everyone knows. I had to run a game. I didn't have to. I ran a gaming store for a little while, a few years, before I got into fish. But at one point, I was at a tournament for Magic, and then one of the side events was playing like Legends of the Five Rings, and so someone basically handed me a deck I had never played. They taught me in 30 minutes before. I ended up winning that tournament, and I got a uncut sheet of L5R, and then I also did that with a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament too, which Yu-Gi-Oh, I was say the dumbest game, but it's really awkward when it's like, oh, you just have Exodia now and you win. Like, okay, are we playing this game? Like, this is a very weird way to play, and then half your opponents don't know how to read because they're 4, and then the other half are like scientist nerd 45 and has been studying Yu-Gi-Oh their entire life. The Juzam Jin? Yes. One of the coolest Magic card arts ever out there. That card, overpowered for its time. Nowadays, you could offer it to people's like draft decks and like, it's too bad, I'm not playing that. Only TPS I know is the cover sheet. Gotta get them TPS reports. Ever trade cards for rare fish? I haven't, because it was one chapter of my life closed of gaming in Magic the Gathering and everything, and another one opened fish. I kind of replaced that with, I mean, really, that's what happened. And in fact, the person that got me into fish, we were playing Magic the Gathering, and the local store was kind of not being awesome. Like, the sets weren't that good. I think it was like we hit a lull after like like Mirrodin block, then Ravnica block, and then it was like Kamigawa block. And then after that, we played WoW for a little bit, and we were bored, and that's when I fell in love with fish tanks at his house. So, oddly enough, I just gave that guy a fish tank this week. Or no, last week. He had been out for like 10 years, had kids and everything. Now he's getting back in, so it's gone full circle. Flagtail Prochulotus. I've got one. Love them. Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Until I made it super complicated. I always thought it was hilarious. I had to use calculators like, oh, you're attacking me for 32,000 damage? Like, what is going on here? Have I said what's going to be in the big store expansion tank? We've got, so far, a Flagtail Prochulotus. And way too many Silvertip Tetras. And yes, they're doing the thing. Putting your hand up and getting swarmed. It's pretty awesome. Loving it. Let's see here. A native toad burrowed into the dirt of my patio pond. The above water plants. Do toads eat fish? Should I be worried? I don't know that well enough, but I do think they will eat some fish if they got hungry enough, but I am not a reptile connoisseur. The taco hat was a classic. How about an emoji? I could probably do that. I've been working a little bit more on like the forum and the member emojis and that kind of stuff. Like working out some of these, like this has been on the list way too long. Let's revisit this. And so like the forum got a facelift, got a new theme and everything. Still working on some more stuff, but some of these projects are like, yeah, let's see if they've got an update yet. In fact, I'm going to check right now because I was looking before right when I live and then I realized my software wasn't working, but I wanted to see if they've brought the coin, or not the coin, but the badge for number 6 out yet. Because we've got people that are at 6 years and they got no badge. Well, they have a 5 badge. They don't have... You know what I'm basically trying to say. So I'll be looking at that while I'll answer questions here. After living in Germany for 3 years, it was incredible that there was planted discus tanks in what would be the PetSmart. Yeah. The European scene for fish is pretty cool. There's lots of standards. You can get shut down. You have to apprentice before you can get a license to open up a pet store. It's kind of a lot of cool stuff going on over there. And it leads to a much, like whatever the bottom level is much higher. So the barrier to entry is pretty high, but also the results are pretty cool. And dark mode triggers people. It definitely can. Yeah, I thought like, oh, let's just bring this into the 21st century and go dark mode. Like, so now we have light and dark mode. It'll work for you. You can swap between the two. Memberships still working here. I've seen that many people pay for new Cardinia shrimp strains, so I can imagine a card being worth a car. Yeah. Yep. When you if you ever get to sit with like some of the big time breeders of shrimp and all of that, they'll talk about like, yeah, they invent a new strain and then someone flies in and spends $20,000 a shrimp, and then they, that's where we get like, oh, why are King Kongs $900 each and that kind of stuff, like all that weird stuff. So when you go out to dinner with these people and you hear all these crazy stories, like there's a buyer for everything out there. There's X amount of people with $100 million out there and 20 grand on shrimps that they're enjoying. And to be fair, I do feel the same way in that I basically believe all fish, almost all animals, are incredibly underpriced. The fact that you can be like, wow, that thing looks cool. Here's $11. I'd like to own that now. And you can. And it came from somewhere crazy in the world is kind of an amazing thing. So I'm stoked about it. So I could see like you just fall in love with it, like, oh, I could imagine like, imagine you've never seen a dog before and someone's like, yeah, dogs are $5,000, which there are some dogs for $5,000, but you'd be like, that's worth it. Live 10 to 20 years and it's just always happy to see you. That's amazing. Yeah. You might go, I'm not paying $5,000 for a dog. I get them for free from the pound. Like, yes, that's cool too. I'm just saying, if you could no other way, your dog's still worth $5,000, $10,000, whatever. Same thing. If you really wanted that shrimp and you got $100 million, $20,000 on that shrimp sounds like a bargain somehow. Now, if you only have, you've only got 2 Taco Bell trips in the bank, $20,000 ain't gonna cut it on shrimps. You don't got that kind of money. Let's see, levels. Is that what I'm doing? Let's see here. Edit. No, wait. Emoji, badges. Where's it at? Nope, that's the perks, but where's the badges? Where's the badges? Levels. Levels? No. There it is. Nope. There's no 72-month badge option yet. I've got Snow White Bristlenose in my 75-gallon. I separated them from the dad in a global breeder box. Any tips for raise the fry to adults? You just feed them and feed them, and then feed them and feed them and feed them and feed them. I like using green beans out of a can, Rapashi food, but they are put food in, growth comes out. More food. Did Corey talk about the difference between the new food and the fry food that comes in a squeeze bottle? No. Mostly different ingredients. So here's the thing. This is more of a true grind where you get different sizes in it. And the fry food is mostly you put it on the top, it floats for a little bit, and then sinks. Doesn't really have that mid-water dwell time that we're talking about. A lot of people would ask me, hey, can you put the new food in this and squeeze it out? I haven't done it with our food specifically because I haven't fed through all this yet, but I'm going to go ahead and say yes, because I've done it with lots of other foods in the past, like different decapsulated brines and I keep wanting to say culminaris, but it's not that. What's the little red crustacean? Hard to get a hold of. What is it? Red. I gotta find it. My brain. It only comes from like one lake. It's red. Rotifer. It's like a rotifer. Do we sell a smaller squeeze bottle? No. In fact, long term, we probably won't even sell squeeze bottles. The squeeze bottles have gotten so expensive. Canalus? I want to say it's like Canalus or something. Canalus. Not Gramaris. Nope. Yeah, it's Calanus. Frozen Calanus. Calanus. Getting that freeze dried is awesome. When you're doing, I was mixing up a lot of those. So like decap brine, Calanus, and freeze dried Daphnia, and freeze dried Cyclops. You basically mix all that kind of stuff together, and you can put it in a squeeze bottle, and that feeds Shell Dweller fry really, really well, and Cyprichromis and that kind of stuff too. So, but it's a great food. It's super duper expensive, and it's only like there's like one limited spot in the world that it comes from. So it's stupid hard to get a hold of. That's why you don't see it everywhere. Let's see here. My fish don't let the fry food sing. Yes, I mean, there is that too. Yeah. I can't wait to have one of the new packages in my hands. It'll arrive in a couple days, probably Tuesday or something. So I don't have to be like, it looks just like this, except not these cubes. Love the live streams. I've been listening to them on Spotify while I work, whether it's pulling out barbed wire or shoveling dirt. Well, good. I'm glad you're getting some use out of that, Derek. It takes a little bit of work to upload them, but then people can listen after the fact, and they're ad-free over there. And by the way, I should say that's another membership perk, or just perk in general. We are doing the absolute bare minimum of ads in our videos and live stream. So basically, two-part. One, I really wish they would put in a thing that there's no ads for members. That's like my number one ask. But two, this live stream, when it goes up, if I don't remember to check it in about 30 minutes, which I got stuff I got to do after work or after this today, it will implement like 35 ads in a 2-hour thing. It's ridiculous. And so much so that I've been back and forth with YouTube on it, and they're like, that shouldn't be happening. Like, okay, but it is. So I'm going absolute bare minimum ads. And so part of that is you guys with membership support us, so I don't need to make that money. If I turn them all the way off, then YouTube just kind of like shadow bans. Like, if you're not going to make us any money, we're not putting your stuff out. So there's a little bit of that, but you basically watch the one ad when you get into the video or the live stream, and then nothing else. Because, one, I talk about my own products. That's how we make money. You guys support us that way. You support us with memberships. There you go. I feel like that's a fair trade. Minimize the interruptions for you. Not that you want to sit through 2 hours of me anyway, but if you did, let's make it as painless as possible. My guppy fry love your fry food. How do you keep the guppy populations down so they don't get out of hand? That's a good problem to have. Mostly I take fish into the store or give them to friends. You can get things like some African dwarf frogs or something with a little bit bigger mouths that will just kind of go, oh, opportunistic feeders. It'll eat some. Maybe you get like one pearl gourami in there. Something with a big enough mouth to go, hey, I'd eat that baby. Hey, I'd eat that baby. But not eat all your babies, all your stuff. You kind of got to, get the right one. I'm getting all these goodies next paycheck. All right, I'm going to hold you to that. Candy donating 5 memberships. Thank you. Congratulations to the Nano Aquarium guy, Emma Rose, Raphael, Spinster. Wait, and one more, right? And Jeff Jones. Fantail goldfish tank mates. I like reticulated hillstream loaches. What else do I like? Mostly that, but I'm trying to think. There must be something else. Dojo loaches. I like them too. Yeah. I've got a business questions. Feel free to answer. If overtime hours are tax-free in the future, how do you think it will affect our business? If overtime hours are tax-free in the future, how do I think it would? I think I need more. Are you saying like it would be tax-free for my business or tax-free for my employee or both? Yeah. In general, I don't love overtime. There's a million reasons why. You can overwork people. You can it costs more money to pay people time and a half. And almost always ours is optional. Every once in a while, we have to mandate it, like, oh, all the plants just showed up and they just got here and they're gonna die if we don't do something. Um, but yeah, I don't know what that would exactly mean. I I guess I would say is if somehow it was like beneficial to the business, I wouldn't start working people like you got to work 80 hours now. The higher you go up in the company, there is more hours. Like when you're a salary employee, just on average, because you end up catching more stuff in the net of like, ooh, someone's got to get that done. But also, there's also weeks where it's like, oh, you take a lot of time off because there's not as many things to do. So I'd want to find that balance. But yeah, here in Washington, the salary range is getting crazy. Where a lot of people wouldn't know this, but there's minimums to a salary. So if you make $20,000, someone can't just be like, you work salary, right? It used to be $48,000, and if the next like 3 or 4 years it goes up to 90 some thousand. So if you're under 90 some $1,000s a year in Washington in like 2028 or 2029, you no longer could be a salary employee. You would have to be hourly. Don't even know what the ramifications really that's going to do for us. We kind of just go, yeah, that's fine. For the most part, we're not an employer that's like, yeah, we'll put you on salary and then we'll work you 182 hours a week. We don't do that. So for the most part, it shouldn't matter. Drew says for employees or both. So if it was non-taxable for employees, I just don't think it works because as an employee, if I was employed, I'd be like, ooh, yeah. So let's say, you've got someone making $25 an hour, which our entry level employees can make $25 an hour. Then you get time and a half, right? So now you're making $37.50 and there's no taxes on it. So you're like, ooh, I want to work lots of that. But on average, people get more grumpy, they burn out more, and they're more prone to mistakes the longer you work overtime. And so maybe you work 60 hours in 1 week and it's fine. You can do that. But can you do that for months and months and years and things like that? And you can break bodies down, you can break minds down, and all of that. So in general, everybody works at a different pace. I'm a guy that works a lot, but you guys and gals have clearly noticed there are times when I'm more irritable, I'm more beat down, and that's a sign for me to like, hey, I got to work a lot less this week, and that might only be 50 or 60 hours. And then there's times where I work crazy times, but not my whole life's not always been that way, and it won't always be that way. But I don't think we would probably go to that. So. Creedmoor says, if I can pay 5 employees to work 50 hours, I'd rather pay 6 employees to work 40 hours. More bodies, more flexibility. There's a lot of mental gymnastics to go on with that kind of, when you do those kinds of things. And you could also argue like paying $1,000 for each, up to $1,000 healthcare. We pay that right out the get-go. So we're currently giving insurance, right? And so a 6th employee means another $1,000 that way. Then overtime means time and a half. Like there's so many ways to spin everything. It actually makes business difficult. That's why it's difficult. If overtime isn't taxed, then I'm working Monday through Thursday and I'll see you next week. What am we trying to say there? If it's not taxed. So you're saying you wouldn't want it? I feel like if it wasn't taxed, you would want it. Right? Your money's going to go further? How does the magic food dispense with the auto feeder? I'm having trouble getting a colony of shrimp started in the office tank, and I think I'm underfeeding. Well, the problem is the tiny particles. Auto feeders are not well suited for that. So what you could do is you could use tape and make the hole. It might even be one of those things where you tape over the hole and then you take like a paper clip and poke through it. I don't know. Are we talking about a 20-gallon or a 4-gallon tank? I'm not sure, but a tiny hole for that food might work out really well. But yeah, the real answer is get yourself some Zoom Ed plankton nano blocks. That would be a better thing. So feed once a day and then have those blocks available. But yeah, the community pellet that we'll come out with, same formula, is going to be a lot better choice for the auto feeder. Yeah, employees will be willing to work more if they're untaxed. Yeah, but that's not the. I think the problem is, like, already I struggle to get people on salary and that kind of stuff to take their vacations. So, like, I believe people need time off. They need time away. Like, I know if I can get away, my brain works better when I come back to work. And so everybody's got a limit. It's like a rubber band, basically. That's what I think. Like, your working career is a rubber band, and you can keep stretching it and stretching it and it gets harder to stretch it, right? Harder. Eventually it'll snap. But if you're, this rubber band and you're pulling it apart, and that's fine. It's been 4 months. Then you're like, oh, I'm taking a vacation. Okay. Release some of the pressure. And then, okay, it's building back up. Oh, reduce some of the pressure. And I think what I see is when you have people where they're not taking their time off and they're working lots of overtime and all of that, eventually, this harder part basically becomes reduced work output per hour worked. They're shorter with people, and that doesn't usually lead to necessarily better outcomes. And so I think it's better off to go, hey, we need more people in here. We need to solve this. Why are we having so much of this happening over here? What's long-term solutions? There's always short-term solutions. Work 24 hours a day, get the job done. Long-term, though, that's not a long-term solution. So what's a long-term solution here? And there are different people. There's nurses and doctors and other people, Eric saying, I work 12-hour shifts, but only 3 or 4 days a week for 30 years, no problem. For some people, that's going to work out great. For other people, that sounds terrible. Different schedules for different people. Some people have a hard time working on weekends at the retail store. Unfortunately, retail stores want you on the weekend. That's how that works. Shout out to everyone that was at the SAS swap meet in Phoenix today. I picked up some of Mike Coleman's shrimp and helped Ron Sauer sell his plants. Mike Coleman gave a talk on shrimp. You can watch it if you're a member. There's a limit on how much OT a body and a mind can handle. It's true. People don't like to admit it, but it's true. At least true for, as a guy that employs 30 plus people, we see it in more people than not. What's the new product so far? Magic Nano Feed, weighted air stones, bloodworms, freeze dried. Burnout's no joke. Still recovering 4 years later. Most people will probably never experience true burnout, but when you see it, it's almost like it's a crazy thing. Like, I don't know how to explain it because I don't know that I've ever truly felt it, but when you see it, it's a lack of motivation. It's almost like a depression or depressive state, and it's not easy, and it's demoralizing because maybe it was your career and you thought, when people do burn out, they may have spent the last 30 years of their lives gearing up, right? Like, had to go to school, had to work up my way, got the job I wanted, then I burnt out. What am I going to do now in the second half of my life? It could take a long time to work through that. Unfortunately, that's what happened basically with the store that I ran. The owner, like, when I left, I think it had been open for 20 years. He honestly burned out in like year 12. And I got there at like year 15-ish. So that's why I ended up running that store basically. Because he was burnt out. He would only show up 1 day a week minimally so I could have a day off. And we were closed a day. So he basically had to show up 1 day. We were closed 1 day. He puts in 1 day. I put in 5 days. And the store really never got better. It limped along. And eventually he actually ended up passing away. But it never really did much for a long time because of that. And so any project that needed to get done didn't get done. There wasn't the willpower and the funds and all of that to make that store go where it needed to go. So I ended up opening my own, and without the burnout, I was able to do it. And I was close to burning out. There was a time where in like year 3 or something, when I still didn't really have employees, we started getting some bad Yelp reviews and that kind of stuff. And that's where I realized, like, I'm burning out. I cannot work 6 days a week, never ending. At that point, I can't remember which year it was in the business that we got married, but I tried to work a half day even when we got married, and because the store needed to be open to make money. Like, this is the dream, chasing the dream, got to do it. And so, yeah, that was the closest to burnout when I was having trouble remembering words and not getting enough sleep. There was never enough time, and I was short with people. So that's where I had to change and hire more people, and that's also where YouTube started happening and selling online and all that. Had to make a change. What I was doing wasn't going to get me to where I needed to go. I like working from home. Sometimes I do my best work at 3 a.m. Yeah. That's a whole new demographic that, I never really got to experience in my working for other people life. I always had to go to the spot to do the work. Now that I own the business, I have to do both. Like, I actually will be at the store later after. When this ends, I will drive down to the store, and I will be there after hours later tonight to be ordering fish and working on things and that kind of stuff. So, sometimes my day's starting when other people's are winding down, just because if you need to get stuff done in a retail store, you got to do it after hours or before hours. And, yeah. By the way, don't show up. I won't let you in. Just fair warning. I've had that happen before. Like, oh, you said you're going to be here. Like, I'm here with a purpose. Don't need help. Not opening the door. Got a task to get done. I saw burnout when I was in the Army. It's tough to watch high-performing people that just hit a wall after years of overuse. Seems to happen a lot in Type A's. Yeah, I haven't seen it a ton, but when you see it, it's an enigma for sure. Like, wait, I don't understand. But the best way I explain it is that rubber band. Like, there's a lot of give. It can do a lot. But eventually, once that rubber band snaps, it doesn't retract anymore. Like, that's... And so... whether you're describing it as, pressure, but that's what it is. It's building up, and you want to relieve it and build it up and relieve it. And as long as you stay in a comfortable zone, a rubber band can do this a lot of times. A lot of times a rubber band can do that. If you hold it out here too long, eventually it gets brittle, a lot of that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Am I hiring anytime soon for remote work? Not that I'm aware of, but that's the way our things go. Unless we're doing a big initiative like moving the warehouse, we know we're hiring. You don't know if someone's coming or going, or sales grow or recede. There's a lot of what we do is, well, a lot of every company based on demand, right? And it's like, okay, well, are you guys going to buy a lot? Then we need more people. Are you not buying a lot? We don't need a lot of people. And so you kind of just got to go, okay, well, we'll just see how it's going, and we'll adapt, and we'll hire. And some of the things are, like retail store, still not open yet in the expansion. We do finally have somebody coming in. I put Zenzo on it. We called and harassed them while I was out of town. Finally, they will... I even filmed... So I think I told you guys, I filmed them a video, sent them the plans and all that. They will finally step foot in there tomorrow on Monday. And then hopefully it's like, great. Can you tell me how it's going to cost? Can we pull a permit? Can we start this, please? Please, please, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Please. Yes. Sooner the better. I've got a 20-gallon standard tank. I currently have 9 neon tetras. I've got a 40-gallon sponge filter, and I'm planning on to add 21. Is this a good plan? Should I do a different fish? Completely depends on how much you love 9 neon tetras. For me, I might be going, I need 15. 15 looks awesome, but ask yourself this question. Would you get more enjoyment out of 17 than 15? For me, the answer is no, not really, honestly. If I added 2 more rosy barbs in here, would you be like, now that looks awesome? Or like, I wouldn't even notice, honestly. I wouldn't notice. You guys probably wouldn't notice. If I had 3 in there, you might be like, well, 3, how about 10? That'll look better. Like, I would agree. But if I added 5 more in here, you'd be like, ah. And so, do you need 21 more? I bet you won't get more enjoyment out of 30 total than you would out of 15-ish. But if you buy, let's say, 6 more and you're like, oh, I just want more. I love them. Great. Get another 5. Right? But I myself like to see different fish. I like to see different behaviors, all of that. So that's my take. Drew Schmidt, 5 more memberships. Thank you, guys. I wish YouTube, they do this new thing where you can do super chat goals. I wish we could have membership goals. I love growing the membership. Yes, it makes me money. Full disclosure. I always want to put that aside. Yes, money. Yep. Thing. Yep. Mm-hmm. But I love the smaller community and just building this thing that, seeing people, wow, you've been here for years, or even if it's just a month, like, hey, you're at 3 months. All right. Raphael, up to 2 months. I like to see it. How easy would it be to get overwhelmed with guppies in a 40 breeder? Well, depends on how much you get overwhelmed. The tank itself can hold hundreds if you're doing proper water changes and line plants and stuff. You might go, oh, I've got people that get stressed out with 20 babies. They're going, oh, right? So, do you have employees doing late shifts? I worked retail and I had to do 1 to 10 or even 3 to midnight. Nope. Our retail shifts are basically, let me make sure it's right, 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Sundays, 10:30 to 6 p.m. We close a little bit early. One of the reasons is, one, Sundays slow down a little bit, but two, we want to spend extra time. So not trying to make people work extra, overtime and all that. Work-life balance, hopefully. We get in there, we want to order fish and plants and dry goods for the week. Hey, what sold over the busy weekend? Let's look at the lists. They just came in and plan our week going forward. So that's what a Sunday night would do. And so, yeah, no, and same at warehouse. We don't have like night stocking crews or anything like that. We've never run multiple shifts. It's always been kind of everybody shows up at the same time, kind of everybody goes home at the same time. Everybody, like at the warehouse, everybody has lunch at the same time. We stagger them at retail because we don't want to just be like, hey, we're closed between this and this. But, yeah. We're going to be away for 8 days on the Thanksgiving holiday. Should I grab an auto feeder? I've got 14 Ember Tetras and 4 Neo Shrimp. No. My job is to officially tell you, yes, buy my auto feeder. That would solve your problem. The hobbyist in me says 8 days, just that. Feed them normally every day before you go. They'll be fine. They'll be fine, honestly. And then you come back, feed them normally. They'll just be fine. No problem. But if you're like, what is the best possible way to take care of these animals while I'm gone? Yeah, grab an auto feeder. Get it going today so that it's used to running every day. So many people get an auto feeder and set it up the day before they go, and it dumps too much food and stuff like that. You want to observe it for at least a week or two before you would leave your tank unassisted with that. So, trying to save you money, you probably don't need it. But if you're like, but I was basically going to buy one, just reaffirm it, then yeah, grab one, grab ours. I like it. It'll work. It's reliable. And you'll be happy you have one. And you can even use it all the time. You don't have to use it only on vacation. Any fish will do, says any one person can have a membership. Eric says, how many co-op members are there now? A little bit less than we used to have. We are at, it doesn't refresh time by time, but we are at, as of today, we're down 2%, it says, month over month. We are at 3,155. I would love to get to 5,000 members. Like, that just feels like a milestone. So, I don't know. Part of me wants to, like, I can get that number pretty easy, I think, if I just say, like, oh, memberships are $1. But that takes all the, like, it's more than just me now. What I mean by that is, like, retail partner stores that are offering the discount, they also are buying into this program. And, we're going to do something cool with it eventually. Like, slowly it builds, and eventually you go, wow, we've got this network of 5,000 aquarists around the world. What could we do with it? One of the things we were talking about, like, oh, what about an aquarium co-op cruise? Like, imagine instead of, I went on a movie cruise, but it was speakers about fish and all of that, and the cruise stopped at different places to do fishy type events. And like, oh, what if like a 3-day cruise? That could be real fun. Like, or the Amazon expedition. There's just different things to think about, and having the membership, knowing that hey, I've got people paying $5 a month and we're doing this program. It also lets me look at it going, okay, well, for 5,000 members, maybe it now makes sense. Could we get a database going and an employee to handle Breeders Award Program and the Horticulture Award Program and these things? Everything's got upkeep, and you don't want to sell a service and then get rid of it, right? That's the worst thing of like, yeah, become a member. And then as you're working to become a master breeder, we just go, oh yeah, we're done with that. Like, what? I put a lot of energy into that. Yeah, sorry, we're done with that. It's too much work. So, some doors in business, stuff like that, it's a one-way door. Once you go through it, you can't really go back without a lot of turbulence. So you need a certain amount of like, all right, well, maybe if we're at 5,000 members, we start doing polls and maybe we go, hey, what's the next thing? In fact, before I went live today, I was thinking about making a post on the forum going, what are membership benefits you'd like to see? And then we can discuss if they're plausible. Because there's people all the time like, I would love it if you could do this. Like, that doesn't scale, or that won't work for worldwide, or that causes a problem over here. But I think if people came, if we as a group came up with 100 ideas, one of them's probably like, hey, we could do that. That doesn't actually run into too many complications. Where most of them are like, well, here's why. Yeah, there's that. Yeah. So, got to be very careful. It's really easy to be like, we'll do it all, and go, ooh, we'll leave it off more than we can chew. Aubrey says, worth it. It's 73 months, by the way. 73 months. Woo. I haven't made a live stream in a while. I've been busy. Definitely missed listening and finally got my 1 year coin last order. I'm hoping to get another order in soon. The cruise would be awesome. It could be. Yeah, it definitely could be. Let's see here. Are member stores expected to sell Aquarium Co-op branded items at the same price as the website? That's a tough question to answer, but yes. Basically, the way we lay it out, and if stores are watching, it's a good way to reaffirm it. Our thing is, we want the store to make good money. We want to make good money. We want it to be sustainable. And so, like, if they bring in the Easy Nano feed, right? And they're like, yep, it's $40 per container, and we sell it for $11.99. They're not going to sell very many. And they're going to be like, yeah, your products don't move. It's like, well, but if you're in Hawaii and you're selling, like, maybe it does have to be $1 more, right? Maybe there's something to that. In general, though, I think the stores we see doing really well, they just match our pricing. It's the same online or in person. And I believe that if it's the same price online or in a store, you guys will buy it from that store because you can get it today and it supports a local store that's selling you fish. I want to support that as well. So we're here to grow and keep the hobby stable and keep the stores out there open, hopefully, so that you can get help real time, so that you can not have to order online. It's better for the environment. It's, all of that. So do they have to? No. But they, a lot of times, kind of start sorting themselves out. Like, if you're going to be high priced, no one's going to buy from you. Like, I shouldn't say no one, but not enough people are going to buy from you. So the hope would be that they are very close. Did the breeder reward program ever get traction? No, but also we didn't really put it, like, I believe there's enough members that want to do it. It's mostly who's going to oversee the program? Do we hire people to oversee it? We need developers. We need, what is the scope of it? What are the certifications? There's a lot that goes on. It's like idea to working thing by tons of people around the world. Very different. Getting from point A to B takes something, right? I'm doing water change while watching this. Been there myself. Regional meetups would be fun for the members. Yeah, we kind of did that with events a little bit, and that could be a thing. The problem I find with that is, like, is it a voting system? Like, also, what if you're like, yeah, there's going to be a meetup in Michigan. Yeah, I went, there was one. Ooh, I didn't realize everyone was busy. Like, you kind of got to make sure it's a success. Like, maybe I got to fly out. Maybe there's going to be more stuff. And then there'd be people like, why didn't you fly into Sweden? Like, well, we only have 2 members in Sweden. But they're as much entitled to everything as 100 members in California, right? So, but I'm not opposed to it. And if that's what everybody wants, we'll find more events. Like, all right, we'll come to more events. We'll do more things. We'll hang out. It'll be fun. Is there an online directory of local aquarium clubs? Yes, there is one on our website. Also, more than a week ago, I made a forum for every state in the United States and an international forum where you can post about your club and local swaps and things going on, and you can find people in your state. Now, that's not for you to sit there and sell each other stuff all day long, but it is like, hey, this store's rad. Hey, this event's cool. Hey, we're doing a thing over here. You want to come? It is to do that. Can we see the functionality of the weighted air stone again? What, like putting them together or what? I mean, are you saying like in aquarium water? I could put that in a video, but yes, it can come apart if that's what you're asking. Each little disc can come apart for cleaning. Ugh, see, just like that. I've made a giant one here, which a normal one is only 2 plus a top. This is what a normal size one is. These are just extras from the other ones I've been playing with. Let's see here. I built an entire new rack listening to this, keeping me motivated. All right. Have I ever tested the medicated shells from AAP? I have not. 4 ounce for $11.99 is a great price. Yeah, we looked at a lot of foods, and we tried to pick a price point that was going to be sustainable long term. Wasn't way too much, but also wasn't the cheapest thing on the market, and allowed us to make sure that everybody involved will make an appropriate amount of money. Which that always sounds like an appropriate amount of money, like a lot, right? No, we want to make sure that we don't go broke selling it, and if we sell it to stores, they don't go broke selling it, and that we can keep it around for a long time. That's really our goal. If I could do all of that and sell it to you guys for a nickel, I would. Like, at the end of the day, I just want to play with fish all day and live an okay life. If that can happen with food being a nickel, so be it. Turns out, can't happen with food being a nickel, so it's got to be more. $11.99 is apparently what it's got to be. The Magic Nano Feed. I'm hoping that the Magic Nano Feed is like the next one. Because right now it's kind of like Easy Green root tabs, sponge filters. I'm hoping the Nano Feed or our foods are the next, like, oh yeah, gotta get me some of that. I love when I see it recommended like out in the wild, like on a Reddit post, something like that. You gotta get yourself some Aquarium Co-op XYZ. That's like the best thing I can see. Like, that's the feedback, right? Is like, people are liking it. They're actually liking what we're doing. That's good to see. Oh yeah, there was that review. There's another review earlier. We're up to, how many reviews are we up to? 3. Let's see, newest. Yeah, I only see three reviews on our food. Maybe I'm crazy, but that I would encourage you guys to do that. Leaving reviews on our products on the website, especially new products, but all products with pictures and everything. My sales pitch would be this. You know how when you're on Amazon and half the stuff is AI written and bots and bought and sold reviews? None of that's going on at Aquarium Co-op. So when you post that picture of your algae-ridden tank and you're going, hey, look at the sponge filter, it's authentic. And you go, hey, I do or don't love it. We don't scrub out the reviews. So when there's bad reviews, they stay. As long as you're not attacking an employee, swearing, or it's the wrong product, any review under 3, we will send you an email and be like, hey, sorry to hear you hate us or hate our product. Is there anything we can do to help you? Like, do you need a refund? Do you need information? But we don't withhold that. Now, every once in a while, there'll be people that claim we do. Like, I saw on Google, there's a guy like losing it about how we're hiding his review. I can see all of his reviews. Like, you just don't see your own review, guy. Like, you keep laying into us. We're not hiding your review. And there's some platforms like on Yelp and on Google where if you become a racist or something, they will just automatically filter your crap out. Like, that's not us. I don't have time in the day to filter all that stuff out. However, we do watch our website, and we will remove it for anything racist, attacking an employee, swearing, or if it's the wrong product. So if you're like, oh man, sponge filters are so stupid, and it's being left on Hikari First Bites, that doesn't make any sense. Outside of that, we live and die by the reviews. Like, oof, just have to do better. And some of them are real cut to the bone, like that hurts my soul. But that's one out of, maybe hundreds on that product. So it's like, all right, people just have to, I believe our 5-star reviews look more real when you see the 1-star reviews where they hate our guts. And if it was only 5 stars, if it's only rainbows and unicorns, sounds pretty made up. Do their easy root tabs ever expire? Not really, no. How much pressure can you put through it before it blows apart? I've never been able to max out a weighted air stone like this yet. So more than what I can put through with a linear air piston pump, but you might have some crazy setup. You're like, well, I've got a turbine for a jet engine here, and it can only run at 76% capacity on that air stone. Like, well, wasn't designed for that. Any other hobby pump, no problem at all. No problemo. Let's see here. If you only have 5 stars, I wouldn't believe any of them. Exactly right. Yep. I truly, I just try to make the best product, not the cheapest product. And so it's fairly easy for us to get good reviews. And then we will also try to make it right to the best of our ability every time. That typically leads to good reviews. So we don't have to hide reviews. That's really what it comes down to. There's 2 ways. You can either hide them or you can just try not to get them. We try really hard to not get them. That's really what it comes down to. And then when it goes wrong, we reach out. Is there anything we can do? We don't even ask you. We don't come out and go, hey, you want to update that review? Because that happens all the time where someone will leave us a scathing review and we're like, you were using it backwards, actually. And then that review just stays there forever. Like there's one of them, I think one of them is our test strips. They're actually comparing it upside down. They're like, the colors don't match. They're holding the test strip upside down. We reach out and we let them know that, but if they don't go out of their way, which is a pain in the butt, I get it. You're like driving down the street, you pull over and you're like, oh yeah, it works okay. You're not gonna go out of your time like, I better go fix that review. We also don't pull that review down though. So even though we've like remedied it with the customer, it's like, well, that's gonna live there in posterity forever. Let's see. I hate or have? Don't know. I'll keep reading. I'm going to say have. I have 13 medium sponge filters, so yes, I'll try the Aquarium Co-op sponges again if you send me 13. Actually, the Co-op sponge filters are my absolute favorite. I see. Yeah, we get some people trying some antics from time to time. We have to make notes on their account sometimes. Let's see here. Yeah, negative reviews are the way to perfection. It is. I mean, there's lots of books like, it's the best gift you can get is a negative review. And, basically we have a team of people that there's meetings that go on every week about reviews. Like basically Candy and the customer service team surface things up. That goes in the customer service call. From there, it'll go up to the next level. And then by the time it's in front of me, we have metrics. Right? And because it's real easy to go, there is one person outraged, I need to change the product. Turns out 1 out of X amount, right? That's the problem. And, we went through that with we were going to try to make some changes to West Coast shipping on plants. And when we really dug in the data, it took 10 days. We're like, wait, there are so few problems with the plants that we shouldn't change what we're doing. There are more problems than, so it was something absurd like, of all the plants we shipped, which is over 10,000 plants a month, I want to say there was we had a problem with 112 plants or something. And then of the West Coast, where it's I had seen 2 posts about it in the group, in a week, it's of the 110, 14 are the entire West Coast. And it's we shouldn't radically change what we're doing over that. Like there's just going to be some oops that happens. It got lost in the mail, things happened, blah blah blah. In a small amount of data, by looking at the people having problems, it looked like we had a big problem. So, but yeah, all that gets surfaced up, and that's how we track everything. Everything, when you have a bad review, when you have a reship or a problem with a product, it all goes into our database. So we can pull numbers forever and go, hey, are we seeing trends? Are we seeing this? Do we know what's going on? And the answer is we do know what's going on. And, people will be like, I want to say one of our number one problems, people going, your brine shrimp eggs don't work. And it's like, but they do. They do work. We've sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds this week. There's one person having a problem. I literally took some home myself yesterday. They're still working. Like, maybe you got a bad batch. It's like, we bought $100,000 worth and we've sold $50,000 worth, and 7 people have had a problem out of 27,000 people. So not a whole bad batch. And we keep working with the customer. As long as all we need is you guys to work with us. Like, okay, tell us more about your setup. Some people come in combative and they're like, hey, you're trying to get out of making it right. Like, no. If it is wrong, we will make it right. My main goal here is let's get you hatching brine shrimp and figure out, is it temp? Is it water? Is it you're not cleaning? Like, well, it's been working fine. This can doesn't work. Like, a lot of times it's you're not sterilizing your container. And so if you use a brine shrimp hatchery, after about 3 months, if you're not cleaning it correctly, it'll just stop hatching very well. When you really sterilize and clean it, oh, magic, it works again. Eggs didn't change at all. But we run into that problem a lot. And no matter how many resources we put out, the problem is people read resources when they buy the product originally, not so much 3, 4, 5 months later. And so it's really hard to get them that. But sometimes they're so convinced our product is wrong that we just have to make it right with them and go, all right. And too often, though, we go, yep, what do you know? The next batch of eggs didn't work either. Are you ready to clean it now? Good. Oh, now it's working. And then they feel guilty. And it's like, yeah, just try to be a little more open-minded, and we'll do what we can next time. I've only had one product fail on me, and it was the Nano Bubbler. Oh, like the CO, or not CO2, the USB air pump, yeah. Yeah, that product's, people think that product was ours, but it is never branded Aquarium Co-op. We just bought them and resold them. So we could never make them ultra reliable and silent, so we never continued. We had lots of prototypes, but we could never improve upon it. They need a question side and a chat side for live videos. Yeah, there's some softwares and some stuff that you can kind of start doing. That is one of my pet peeves, is like, yeah, I wish there was, what was there? There's kind of something like that we might try down the road. In our forum, they have what's called a live forum thing that you can do, where you use a YouTube video, you can chat on the forum, and then that becomes posts afterwards, and you can, like, it allows people to vote on the questions. So if someone's going, hey, I really need help, and 10 people see it, they can all upvote it, and that'll be the next question answered. So it's kind of like a mix between chat and a Reddit system and this and that seems really good. And to me, those are no-brainers for YouTube. Like, why not make it so that there's a button I can press that shows me the next comment that has the most upvotes? And then I click next, and it'll show me the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And so if you guys really want me to talk about, is there any easy way to match sponge pre-filters with the size of specific intake tubes, and that has 50 upvotes, that's what we talk about next. Not really, other than you can adapt any to any, pretty much. So if you have a tube that's this big around, and the hole on the sponge is this big around, you basically use a piece of vinyl tubing around the tube, and that'll create a grommet and a seal. Vice versa, if your sponge is a little bit too narrow, you can kind of stretch the hole a bit, and it'll still fit over there. And then there's the hole over the intake screen versus just the pipe. There's a lot of ways, but there's no easy way. We've built a table so you can kind of cross-reference what is the easiest to adapt, but there's no super easy way to go, hey, I've got this diameter and this, because you also have friction issues of a piece of pipe can doesn't hold the sponge very well. You need something with some grip to it. I literally just left the stream to drive all the way to Petco and get a 40 breeder half off. Hey, that sounds great. Are we opening a store in Kentucky? No, we're not. No, we're not. What some creators do is ask the people to have a question. Start it with the question. Hold on. What some creators do is ask the people that have a question, start it with a question at the start. I see. So it stands out. Well, yes, but I don't know that's going to solve for the home viewers. I can see the questions easy, but I think what they were alluding to is have side discussions between all the members and the fans and everything, just talking about stuff, and then kind of what's going on for me to read through, I think. Is my 3D printer still in the box? Yes. Yes, it is. There's a new cool thing on the forum. Someone 3D printed a soda bottle holder for our power head that I was looking at last night. I'm like, I have to set up my 3D printer. I have to. I want to so bad. The only thing holding me back is I am worried I won't be able to do the software. Are there any stores in Michigan? You'd have to check the tracker, but I believe so. Would Rapashi work well for Neon Tetrafry? I know culturing Infusoria works best, but I'm having to try to simplify the process best way possible. I don't know. I've never raised Neon Tetrafry myself, but if I was doing Infusoria, I'd be doing it the Lowell's Lab way. His system looks awesome. Easy to do. Fell asleep on the shuttle to work and just woke up to an email saying I was gifted a membership. Well, dreams do come true, apparently, Tim. I've got 2 bamboo printers, and they're incredible. Really, I just need... And this is where I love the forum and, like, membership for. At some point, I'm going to say, like, look, is there a local member who can get me up to speed in 10 hours or less on really being a badass when it comes to 3D printing software? And if the answer is yes, I'm about to go down a rabbit hole and live in the 3D printed world. And if the answer is no, I'm pretty much never going to be a 3D printer guy. Same thing, like, I'm not a Photoshop guy. I've never spent the time. I can hack together a thumbnail, but I am not a Photoshop wizard. And I know it takes a lot of time to become a wizard. I want to become a wizard at 3D printing, but all my friends that I've seen do it, they're like, I love 3D printing. And then 11 and a half minutes later, when they're like, hey, I made these 7 things, and then their 3D printers collects dust, I'm like, that'll be me. So I do want to get in. Because it's useful for work, 3D prototyping, but then also making the things too. Just like, hey, I want to do that. Let's see. I was also gifted a membership, but I wasn't sleeping. That's because, La Joyous, you were daydreaming instead of dreaming while you slept. You were daydreaming. That's why I got the membership. That's how that works. Lowell's new video is timely today? Wait, he's got a new video? What was I doing? I was working all day and I missed it? Let me see this. This would be the best troll ever if it was like a video that says Aquarium Co-op sucks. And I'm just looking it up live on thing. That'd be hilarious. Building an aquarium for fish photography. 16 hours ago. There you go. Which is apt for my video this week. Was talking about taking pictures of the fish and lighting and all that being changing aquarium lights. There you go. There's a YouTuber making a video on photography, just like we've done in the past. It's kind of a normal thing because you're into it. Part of the job. I need to get a couple Aquarium 110s. Is it worth looking for the new design? No. In my opinion, no. In my opinion, well, it's not even my opinion. The Aquarium 110, the new design, is, I would have to ask, what is it you actually changed? So, having all of them in front of me, the Aquarium 20 up to the 70 changes. 110, I'm convinced they just changed the box. They didn't actually change anything. I don't think it has a new basket. I don't think it has a new anti-siphon technology. Did it have a new lid? It may have had the new sloped lid, so that might be one change. But from what I could tell, now the other ones, yes, worth buying the new one. 110, I think it's all the same, honestly. My kids are learning 3D printing in elementary school. Awesome. Yep. What's my best and worst business decisions? There's probably laundry lists of both. Well, maybe not of good decisions, but the one that comes to the top of my mind, the easiest one, don't name your business Aquarium Co-op. No one can spell it / they think you're a daycare. So that would be the first thing I would change. If I could wave a wand and change it, I would be something much better than Aquarium Co-op. I also, when the time of naming it, didn't think I was going to become this like online thing. I thought I was just a local little fish store, which, knowing what I know now, should have just been like Corey's Aquariums or something stupid like that. Not that that's stupid, but just something easy. You know, aquarium is much harder to spell than fish tanks. So, then best decisions. Maybe my best decision or best concept that I've come up with, I think, for my business is the theory that I have, which is it's after 5, by the way, I got to go. The theory that I have of take someone who is a business professional and runs a fish room and then hire that person. So Randy and Zenzo and other people in the company, when you get that merge of passion and experience and drive, and you put those two together, a lot can happen. A lot of people do a lot of stuff for our company, no doubt, but realizing that being able to pay people and unlock their creativity and passion pays dividends in what we are allowed, like Randy. Like if he was just the vice president of some random company, he wouldn't be geeking out and sending me videos and talking like, my fish love, because he never got to use it. So his fish, his white clouds in his office are loving the Magic Nano feed. And to have him geek out about that is amazing, right? But if you're just a random vice president of a company and it's just like, oh yeah, we do a widget, like maybe you're the vice president of like couch cushions, and you don't even own that couch or something, and you're just like, yeah, how's the numbers? How's the marketing team doing? Okay, good. Numbers are good. Where when they enjoy the product and they see the benefits of it, and when Randy talks to stores and all that kind of stuff, and when he's talking with the manufacturers on my behalf, and we're changing things, and I express the changes I want to make, he knows how to do that, as opposed to going, okay, what's the specs? What's the engineering team say? Yeah, do the thing. Instead of like, no, like this. No, but like this. No, like this, though. Lowell's Fish Lab says there's the software to run a 3D printer you can definitely learn in less than 10 hours. Quality software to design your own parts will take somewhat longer than 10 hours. You'll want to spend more. Yeah, I mean, half of that is I kind of want to know. So imagine you didn't know Photoshop or something. Like, am I learning GIMP, Photoshop, Paint, Canva, all these other ones? And I feel like if you could start with like, what is going to be I don't need the most technical. What is the easiest one for a guy like me to go, let's say I pulled this part off my desk and I go, ooh, it's metric. I really need a thing that'll fit this. Like, what is the easiest piece of software for me to go, okay, let me get the calipers out. I need to do this. And then be able to get it to print the easiest. Not what is the most accurate, most technical. And that's the thing, is if I couldn't make that part, I don't even want to do any 3D printing. I'm not interested in just going, hey, I downloaded a thing and I click print. I'd rather just pay someone else to do that. I don't have to have all the gear. Don't need that. I need to go, hey, I need this thing to do a thing. A great example for Lowell's Fish Room, and then I got to go. I want to make your breeder trap, or not trap, but your breeding apparatus that you have that I bought. I want to make some different versions that are deeper, that sit in the tank. So instead of being this shallow, they're this deep. So I can put like a 4-inch molly in there with moss at the bottom. It drops its fry, and then I can remove the molly out. So I want to be able to open up your file that maybe I buy off of you, and then go, yeah, let's make this bloop, this many millimeters or inches or whatever, and then print. Like, if I could even at least do that and make some mods and that kind of stuff, that'd be great if I can master that in a couple of days. If it's going to be like, well, that's a lot, I probably should just go, you know what? I don't have time in my life to learn that thing. Have I considered manufacturing your own fish tanks? We already do. Specializing in tanks for specific fish, building filters in the tank, having a soil layer. I haven't gone down that road, but yes, we already do manufacture our own tanks. They're available in our retail store. Someday, maybe they'll be available in other retail stores. We've got a couple other ones that we've prototyped and we need to actually have built in the next round of tanks when they come. We should have some new sizes and some cabinets and some other stuff. So, all right, I gotta go. I have to go to work. I gotta chow some food real quick, hop in, load some supplies, go to the store, do some more work. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Order all my things, leave all the reviews, join me on the forum. Down below, if you haven't and you want to be part of these live streams, you can get a text notification. I've been sending those out. And they also get notifications on new products and stuff when we do that. So basically, it's new videos and new products. If it's something new, it can go out. If it's not something new, that's a spam. That's a different email list or something like that, but not that. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out. I genuinely appreciate it. I missed you guys. Even though I was on a cruise, I missed hanging out with the people. You keep me grounded. You keep me in the hobby. And if I get away from that, I start forgetting. Jody P with the buzzer beater 5 gifted memberships. Welcome to the new people. Check out all the videos. Sync your account online. Save 5%. Buy all of our stuff. Do me a favor. Buy all of our food. Run us out. It's a good and bad thing at the same time. Shows the stores. We sell it quick, but also then sad to tell people we don't have it. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week. Yeah. Have a great time.